We worry about drought, we worry about pricing, we worry about equipment, we worry about financing. This tariff is just another thing that we have to worry about.
Todd Western III is a soybean farmer in Waterloo, Iowa. He says trade tensions between the U.S. and China are fueling uncertainty for his business. China, the world's largest buyer of soybeans, hasn't pre-purchased any soybeans for the upcoming U.S. harvest.
The revenue on our farm is just like any other farm. It's volatile.
Western and other farmers like him are also concerned tariffs will drive up costs. Current rates will mean higher prices for items ranging from fertilizers to farm equipment to tractors. But across America's heartland, a different story is unfolding. Indiana shrimp farmers Carolina and Daryl Brown view tariffs as a blessing.
Oh, they're fabulous. As soon as we heard they were going into effect, I was excited, not just for my shrimp, but for the shrimp boaters and everybody out there who's also trying to harvest shrimp in, because they can't compete with a $7 a pound shrimp.
Over 90% of all shrimp eaten in the U.S. is imported, with most coming from India. A whopping 1.6 billion pounds of shrimp, worth more than $6 billion, is imported annually. Two industries, two different fights, but both are caught in the crosshairs of global trade policy and the high-stakes gamble of tariffs. So what impact will Trump's trade war have on American farmers?
We do this for the legacy of the farm, and so it's a labor of love.
Todd Western III is a sixth-generation farmer who grows corn and soybeans across more than 200 acres of land on two separate farms.
Our farm was established in 1864. They traveled their way out of slavery and settled in Iowa.
Soybeans, a key source of livestock feed, is planted in the spring, with harvest taking place in October.
So these pods are going to have soybeans in them. The goal is to have as many beans in there as possible. That's what we'll harvest when the combine comes through here.
But despite a strong planting season, the price of soybeans nationally has taken a hit. One factor, due to the ongoing trade dispute, the Chinese government has instructed its importers to avoid purchasing U.S. soybeans.
Our major export commodity, our number one agricultural commodity, is soybeans.
China imports an average of 61% of the world's traded soybeans, including over a fifth of U.S. exports.
At this time of year, typically China is purchasing for delivery in the fall. They haven't done that yet, and so there's a lot of concern in farm country about whether or not those exports will materialize.
The crop was also targeted in previous trade disputes with China. In 2018, China imposed retaliatory tariffs on soybeans. That dispute cost U.S. agriculture $27 billion, with soybeans accounting for 71% of those annualized losses.
I love the farmers. They're a very important part of this country. And we're not going to do anything to hurt the farmers, and we're working on that, and we're going to be coming out with rules and regulations.
One beneficiary of the U.S. China dispute could be Brazil. In 2017, Brazil surpassed the U.S. as the world's largest soybean producer and exporter, thanks in part to lower production costs.
Brazil is a strong competitor. They have almost unlimited amount of land.
President Trump is trying to pick up the loss of China with other markets like India and Indonesia, pushing for both to buy more U.S. farm goods. Companies farmers rely on are also feeling the pinch from tariffs. On his third quarter earnings call, Tractor-maker John Deere said sales were down and higher tariffs on steel and aluminum would cost it $600 million in 2025.
What will happen is, if the suppliers that we get our fertilizers from are heavily impacted and their tariffs are pretty high, it will trickle down.
Despite those fears, farmers are still hopeful that trade disputes can be resolved.
We really need to see some trade deals done with some of our major clients before harvest season comes in. Otherwise, we're going to have to lock in losses.
And what we're going to do right now is he's going to dip out some shrimp.
Carolina Brown and her husband Daryl run what they say is the third established indoor shrimp farm in the country.
I'm a second-generation farmer. My dad came from New York State, and then he actually started the farming here in Indiana.
Originally, the farm raised traditional livestock, but Brown wanted to diversify and boost revenue. His solution? Shrimp. Shrimp has become the most popular seafood in the U.S. The average American eats around 5.5 pounds of shrimp annually.
On average, we sell a little over 500 pounds per month. But the last 3 months, we've done well over 600 pounds. And my facility is only capable for about 550 pounds.
The shrimp here arrive from a hatchery in Florida and are raised in what's essentially an indoor swimming pool.
We had to learn how to do everything ourselves. We lost 1 million shrimp our first year, nearly another million our second year. And we're now going over 15 years doing this.
Domestic farmers face overwhelming competition from India, China, Thailand, and Vietnam. Foreign-grown shrimp flooded the market in the mid-2000s, due in part to U.S. government programs that funded overseas shrimp production. Since then, domestic shrimpers have been pushing the U.S. to intervene. In 2023, the U.S. International Trade Commission ruled to keep existing anti-dumping duties on frozen shrimp from those countries in place. Although shrimp imports dipped in 2024, they surged again in the first half of 2025.
Nothing can help with the supply they bringing in here. It's just overwhelming this industry.
Despite the president imposing 50% tariffs on India, domestic shrimpers warn it's not enough, and financial support of competing markets needs to end. And the president is attempting to do just that. In April, President Trump signed an executive order to protect the industry from the unfair trade practices of foreign nations.
If we can get that imported shrimp cost up to be comparable to ours, well, they're more than likely going to take my fresh product any day.
Carlina and her husband say they are already seeing the benefit of tariffs.
By adding those tariffs, I think that it's really going to let people understand the difference of the better product. I'd like to make Indiana the shrimp capital of the world.
The U.S. is home to 1.88 million farms and is a vital part of the country's cultural identity. American farmers' production exceeds domestic needs, causing farmers to increasingly turn to exports to sustain prices and revenues.
We're not going to be able to absorb all of the stuff that we grow every year. So we're going to be pretty dependent on those international markets.
U.S. agricultural exports have steadily grown over the last 25 years, reaching $176 billion in 2024. But despite that, farmers are facing a difficult environment. In 2024, 216 farms filed for bankruptcies, a 55% increase over 2023. The driving forces: falling crop prices, soaring input costs, and growing uncertainty from President Trump's trade war and related policies. Even with net farm income projected to increase in 2025 after 2 rough years, margins remain razor thin. Farmers continue to face challenges from unpredictable weather, pests, and volatile commodity prices. A sweeping legislative package signed into law by President Trump in July increased agricultural spend by about $65 billion over the next decade, and $59 billion of that is going to farm safety enhancements, which include crop insurance and disaster assistance. 95% of American farms are family-owned. Many hope it'll help keep the farming legacy going. Like Western Son, who runs his own farm in Minnesota.
Without my family's legacy in Iowa, I wouldn't be able to have arrived at this decision to start this urban farm here in Minneapolis.
Todd Western IV felt a deep responsibility to carry forward his family's legacy as a black farmer following the death of George Floyd in 2020. Urban farming is mostly tariff-proof part of farming due to the lack of dependence on the global agricultural trade. Another benefit, he's able to set his own prices.
He's an urban farmer successfully in Minneapolis, and he supplies some of those microgreens to the restaurants in Minneapolis. And because of that, his business is growing.
We're at a good spot in our 3rd year of doing markets where we feel like we're at a really competitive but fair price for both the consumer and ourselves.
But for the farming business in general, the Trump administration's golden age for farmers feels out of reach.
It's unfortunate. The American farmer is not going to benefit from this at all. And so we really need to get things settled fairly quickly.